Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap today up with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Now, like 9, 10 months ago, we checked out a band called Hella with the track Osaka. It's time we revisit them. Lisa says I'm requesting The Things That People Do When They Think No One's Looking by Hella. With this song, they had more members versus the previous song we checked out just being a two-piece. Hope you enjoy. So, let's dive into this. Things that people do when they think no one's looking. That is a freaking tasty drum pattern. Could have used that last week. So we have a 14 beat phrase, lots of tension, atmosphere coming from the guitars. Bass just tearing it up. Reminds me a lot of Mars Volta. The belting over here. The whole drum bit though. The whole hi-hat back half of that drum pattern is absolutely sick. Also, instead of a 14, we have an 18 beat phrase now. Just tacked on an extra bar forward for no reason. Oh man, the tempo drop too. Just a gnarlier vocal delivery. Back to the 7. Dude, the whole bass and drum concept just, oh man, it's so good. Wow. Is that the tom? Yeah, so it's a wee bit of a wild ride there. They definitely take after, well, 2007. This would have been around the same time as Mars Volta, no? I was going to say that they are obviously inspired by them, but they almost seem to be contemporaries of each other. I mean, the end result, though, is just it's a very Mars Volta sound, regardless of if they were influenced by them or not. There is a lot of things happening all at once: guitars, bass, drums, vocals. It's just really difficult to catch all of it. It certainly has what to me feels like a post hardcore foundation, just very proggy and avant garde directions utilizing the post hardcore as a jumping off point. I mean, this is exactly how I would describe Mars Volta. But for some reason, this clicks a little better with me. And I wonder if that is more of an indication of where I'm going and how I'm maturing in my sounds, in the way that I appreciate music like this, more so than a reflection on pitting these two bands against each other to see who's doing what things in different ways. Regardless, though, this still is quite a bit outside the realm of what I would normally listen to, and I did find parts of it difficult to enjoy. But let's start with what I think is the glue that holds everything together: the rhythm section. The bass has some exceptionally tasty lines. I wish it had just a little bit more emphasis, but we'll talk about the production a little bit later. It's not really the bass that stands out in the production realm. The whole thing is produced interestingly. But the bass has some really tasty lines, and it's met with the drums, who have equally tasty passages. Just, I have no idea what's going on with the drums. It's just lots of information presented all the time, like 16th notes consistently, but never from like the same part of the kit. There's just a lot of stuff going on all at the same time consistently. It is kind of absolutely bonkers how much information's come out of the drummer. In fact, it reminds me last week We checked out a whole theme of songs where the drum pattern was transformative, where the drum pattern was a bit different than you would expect, a unique pattern that amplifies what the song is doing more so than if they had just stuck a typical like backbeat or four on the floor pattern to it. And on Friday, we checked out a band called The Blank Reference, and their drummer did something very similar to this. Totally different music, though. Like, you want to go check that out, I'll do the little thing up here, and you can go click that card and check it out. Very different song, though. Don't go in expecting hella, but go in expecting just as bonkers of a drum part. But yeah, there's just drums all over the place. It's just I don't even know how to think about it. I tried to envision it, just like really focus in on what the drums are doing and try to imagine what particularly they're playing and what it would look like. And I can't grasp it. I can't imagine it in this. I'd have to put this down to like half speed and really hear what's going on. But I'll tell you what, man, there are some exceptionally incredible syncopated ideas in here, particularly on some of those ride hat concepts on the back half of the verse. I don't even know. It's just like, yeah, if I was a Goosebumps kind of person, I'm pretty sure I'd get them right there because that part just it fills me with so much joy listening to the back half of the verse for the drums. Just I don't have words for it. I think it's one of those things. If you feel it, you know that it's incredible, and if you don't, that's fine too. Because honestly, it's also kind of a lot of noise. But to me, the drums are just the highlight of this. It's the one thing that, despite also leaning into a lot of the chaotic elements of this track, makes sense to me in some strange way. And I kind of wish I knew what kind of way that was, but it just works so well. It's like chaotic, melodic drumming. How do we smash those words together? I don't know. It sounds so good. And like I said, between that and the bass, it's the glue that holds the song together because the guitars certainly are not any sort of adhesive for this track. They are both off in La La Land doing their own things that very rarely seem to line up with anything else going on in this track. They don't really seem to care about what anyone else is doing. This is probably the most Mars Volta element of the track. Sometimes they're doing dissonant stuff, sometimes they're doing harmonic stuff, sometimes they're doing a melody that feels like it kind of works with the vocals. Sometimes the melody feels completely disjointed from the song as a whole. The other guitarists, who knows what they're doing? They could be, I don't know, doing something totally textural or rhythmic or something. It is chaotic, bringing all of this together. The guitars just they are lead elements. That's it. They never take up slack in any other role. They are certainly not holding the song together in any capacity. They are just doing their own thing through the whole song and they don't care. And you better be on board with that too. The vocals also are not really holding anything together. We do have a nice, concise, looped phrase that we get from the vocals in most of the segments. The verse has its riff, the chorus has its riff, the 4/4 bridge section has its riff, though there is minor variation on that. Each sentence is rhythmically handled the same way and even starts with the same few words every single sentence. But the pitch and inflection of it, whether it's an aggressive attack for the syllable or a lighter attack or something like that, that seems to differ from line to line. But the base foundation of each of the sentences is identical throughout. So once again, like a little riff for the vocals. It's again, it's sort of like the one guitar that just does whatever it wants melodically. That's sort of what the vocals do. They do say things a little slower than the guitars, and it feels like the vocals try to want to be a type of adhesive for the track to create a center point for everything to bounce off of. Maybe everything can work in relationship too, and I think at times it kind of works, but generally the vocals are Also feeling a little dissonant, distracted, distant from everything else. At the end of the day, aside from the bass and drums working together, I think pretty well on a rhythmic area, everything is doing its own thing. And honestly, I have no idea how the song sticks together as long as it does and why it doesn't feel as disjointed as it is. The song actually comes together rather well. And usually I try to give bands the benefit of the doubt, kind of figure that they know what they're doing, but when I listen to this track, I'm like, these guys just wrote a bunch of riffs, smashed them together, and they happen to work. That's what it feels like to me. That's probably not true. They probably know what they're doing, especially given this is later in their discography, right? That was the thing. Was the other one we checked out was earlier, which is why there were only two people in it. I don't know. Oh, they had a single last year. I might have to check that out. Um, Wait, I don't think that's them. I think Spotify's got this mixed up. I don't know anymore. Anyways, though, yeah, it's a lot of chaotic stuff smashed together, and maybe they knew what they were doing, but I also kind of get the idea they didn't. They just got lucky. Um, is there anything else I wanted to bring up with this? Man, it's just a lot of It is a fun jam, though. I'll give you that. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, given how it started and the fact that it never really changes from that and just is rather consistent. Oh, time. Let's talk about this real quick. Time's all over the place. Like, we start off in a 14 beat phrase. Here's the thing, lyrically, it feels like we should be breaking this up into a group of 8 and then a group of 6. Instrumentally, this is two groups of 7 beats. The end result is still a 14 beat phrase. Everybody starts back on the beginning of beat 1 when we get to bar 3. The difference is that the vocals tend to hang on to the last idea for a beat longer than everybody else, creating a little bit of phasing out of sync with each other in the middle of each of the verse phrases. When we get to the chorus, I recognize that things were similar but different, and at least the one time I counted it out, instead of 14 beats, I got 18, which is still not the 4 bars of 4 beats that would give us 16, the perfect symmetry, the traditional phrasing and time signature. It gives us a little more than that. I never quite figured out how to count this one properly, especially since, once again, the vocals and the instruments are both doing totally different things as far as phrasing goes, but still, I'm going to put that out there. At least one time they go into an 18 beat phrase. I'm not going to say that that's consistent, though. I only checked that out once, and overall, my experience with the chorus is one of confusion, not of understanding. We get to the bridge, though, which is the part where the vocalist repeatedly says the things that people do when, and then what comes after is different every line. And this is 4/4. This is where the most amount of groove comes into the track. It was the one I found most easily to move my body to. And it is this point of centering, almost a point of gravity, in order to create some sort of checkpoint in the song. Hey, if you got lost before, let's all get back on track right here. We're going to get screwed up again in the future. Things are going to get a bit wonky again, but hey, at least right here we can make sure everybody's on the same page for at least a moment. I appreciated that because it created this moment of finding footing without actually making the song sound simpler or less chaotic. It was still just as wildly written. It's just that rhythmically it calmed down a little bit and allowed me to really get in tune with what was happening. So, yeah. Aside from this moment, though, which I think was like 40 seconds, maybe tops, it really wasn't a big part of the song. Everything else is in an odd time signature with odd phrasing, and on top of that, polyphrasing, where, two different instruments have two different sets of phrasing within the same beats. It's just, It is not an easy song to follow, and that chaotic nature of the rhythm just leans into the chaos of the individual writing for each of the instruments too. It is a lot of a lot. I'm gonna hit some lyrics and see where that takes us. And I'm totally not surprised by just how many lyrics they are in here. Lyrics there are in here. There is 2, 3 verses, 4 verses. The chorus comes up 3 times. There is 2 parts of the bridge. There's a lot of words in here, and I already knew that. I heard a lot of words in the song. Now, it seems to be about knowledge, the pursuit of knowledge, and something about burning down institutions in a sort, a revolutionary element to the track. It says, burning bridges never felt so right. We watch the night embrace our hex's light. Hesitation won't exceed these wishes. The stone, the sling, our stadiums and stitches. If the stars were black and skies were white, we'd still will these flames upon this sight. To the moon our skulls are tightly bound, we with no intention to come down. First of all, I just want to point out that the flow of this is phenomenal. There's great use of not just words in isolation, such as rhyme scheme, but also interline rhyming and just general syllabic flow. Even if these words meant absolutely nothing to me, they all sort of flow and seamlessly move into each other in a way that feels natural to put these sounds next to each other. It is beautifully written from a poetic angle, completely divorced of the musical component. This isn't just a one-off. The whole song is written like this, and I absolutely love it. Now the chorus comes in, it says, the day they proved the earth was round was the day they flattened holy ground. I think this is the idea that for every bit of scientific knowledge we gain, we remove the power that religion has about flattening holy ground, reducing the power they have. We prove the earth was round. We have a scientific reasoning for this. It pulls people out of the religious concepts of it. What's interesting, though, is that this is then moves into the idea of the sea sang an orphaned sound. The earth is flat. It is not round. It's upside down. I wonder if this is about sort of like a death cry. Seeing their numbers dwindle, they try to push forth this old idea. But as it states, it's an orphaned sound. Not as many people care for it anymore. And with any luck, it'll be a sound that isn't said much longer. Ironically, flat earthers came back, and now that sound is less orphaned than it was at one time, despite us having more information about the world. Now, from here, the second verse says, everybody's trying to be borderline. Don't you know that mystery will never be defined? I wouldn't trade my rags for riches. Pursuit for power doesn't faze a mystic. This sat with me for a little bit. I think the idea is that while knowledge is powerful, knowledge is not everything. Some mysteries will never be unlocked, and it's probably better for that. After all, if all the mystery was removed, well, it kind of removes some of the fun of existence. But he also says that he doesn't want all that power anyways. When you're a mystic, pursuit for power means nothing. And I almost wonder if this has to do not necessarily with the angle of a mystic, but a clairvoyant, knowing what tends to happen to those who have too much power, historically speaking. Now, the bridge says the things that people do when they think no one's looking, over and over and over. There actually isn't a change to the words to this like I thought I heard. After 4 times through of this, we repeat, when your beginning has no end, you witness all the things that never happened. I have no idea what that's very cryptic. I, someone's gonna have to clue me in on that. It feels like it's a rather simple answer, and when someone tells me what it means, I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that's obvious," but I have nothing right now. And we finished the track kind of going back to the whole idea that we experienced in the third verse. Money doesn't make the world go round. It's in the center of the universe we should drown. Your eyesight will be tainted by control. Unmask yourself, prepare to fall into giant hands and know freedom. I think this is interesting because it speaks about a spiritual component to the world, though not necessarily one based around religion, but based around the unknowingness of the universe. That the elements that we still don't understand. What did he call them earlier? The mysteries that'll never be defined is a type of religion to itself. We take faith in these things not knowing exactly what they are. He says if you try to control everything, if you vie after power and money, then your eyesight will be tainted. You will drown yourself in this. It is not a pursuit worth going after. However, you can unmask yourself and fall into the giant hands and know freedom. To just fully give yourself up to the unknowingness of the universe and allow it to guide you. I think that's a really beautiful idea right there. That overall, this song lyrically tells me that knowledge is certainly a good pursuit, but it is not the end all pursuit. It is something we should do to combat ignorance or old ideas, but not one that we should use to make the world boring. And I really like that balance. I think that's a pretty cool perspective to have. And it kind of makes me reflect back on the song. I would love to transpose this and really understand it. Personally, I think I would gain some cool knowledge out of that and a better perspective of it, but there's also a chance, I suppose, that it becomes less interesting once I get it. And maybe the song does work better as a mystical thing that, for me, and for whatever reason, it does kind of click despite being a sound I wouldn't normally enjoy. Maybe I should just let it be mysterious and fall into its giant hands. Those are my thoughts. Hella is the things that people do when they think that no one's watching, no one's looking. What do you think of this track? Does anything stand out to you in it? Is there anything you enjoyed about it? Do you have your own perspective or opinions about it? Put all those thoughts down in the comment section. Above that, in the description box, there's a link for Linktree, which takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. Alright, that wraps it up for this one. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.